I'm Patricia, and this is Investigating Vegan Life with Patricia Kathleen. This series features interviews and conversations I conduct with experts from food and fashion to tech and agriculture, from medicine and science to health and humanitarian arenas. Our inquiry is an effort to examine the variety of industries and lifestyle tenets in the world of vegan life. To that end, we will cover topics that have revealed themselves as common and integral when exploring veganism. The dialogue captured here is part of our ongoing effort to host transparent and honest rhetoric for those of you who, like myself, find great value in hearing the expertise and opinions of individuals who have dedicated their work and lives to their ideals. You can find information about myself and my podcast at patriciakathleen.com. Welcome to Investigating Vegan Life. Now let's start the conversation. Hi everyone, welcome back. I am your host, Patricia, and today I am sitting down with Kelly Childs. Kelly is an entrepreneur, business owner, and cookbook author. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. For everyone listening, really quickly, a website on Kelly is www.kellysxo.com. I'm going to read a quick bio on Kelly, but before I do that, a roadmap for today's podcast. We're going to look briefly at Kelly's academic background and early professional life to kind of garner a sense of where she's coming from, and then we'll unpack a lot of the adventures that she's had with Kelly's Bake Shop. She's had two former businesses now sold based around the vegan industry. And she also has a cookbook called Made with Love Cookbook. And we'll kind of unpack all of those endeavors. And then we'll get some of Kelly's advice as to the current climate and some of her vegan lifestyle choices and any communication that she wants to have between those two. And we'll wrap everything up with advice that she has for those of you who are looking to get involved with her, as well as any goals that Kelly may have set for herself and or her businesses over the next little while, particularly given that goals are now rampantly changing across all industries. A really quick bio on Kelly before I start peppering her with questions. Kelly is an entrepreneur, healthy lifestyle innovator, and a visionary for a kinder planet. Kelly Childs is one half of the unstoppable mother-daughter team that founded Kelly's Bake Shop, a vegan and gluten-free bake shop in Burlington, Ontario, Canada. Together with her daughter, Erinn Weatherbie, these two passionate forces have created an empire of healthy living that reaches much farther than just the kitchen. With an extensive social media presence and celebrity-like status, Kelly spreads her love of good health and happiness in hopes to help others do the same. A pioneer in the vegan world, Kelly has created plant-based brands and recipes that have won many awards, including BuzzFeed, that ranked Kelly's Bake Shop number 3 on the list of the top 25 sweet shops in the world to visit before you die. I love that. With a successful mix of kindness, compassion, and love, Kelly has created a positive and all-inclusive environment, not just in her business, but also in her everyday connections with people. Kelly Childs is in more than just the cupcake business. She's in the business of creating a kinder planet, and one that all sentient beings can be healthier and happier and be more compassionate about themselves and one another. So Kelly, I love that bio. It's I think it's one of the first ones I've read where people really get into the ethos of, their philosophical structure of life, and your humanitarianism and your empathy. All of those things really come out. And to be ranked third in the, this BuzzFeed's poll of the top 25 sweet shops in the world to visit before you die, I think that's tombstone worthy. So I can't wait to get into it. But before we go there, will you paint a quick background of like your academic background or your health academic background or anything that kind of ties into your vegan story and professional life that got you to kind of where you are today?
Gosh, so I'm going to say that I'm kind of boring in that I didn't do post-secondary. So I went from high school, like right into the workforce, and found myself in the automotive industry, and then worked my way up the ranks of doing finance for actually banks for the automotive industry. So I have a very strong background in finance and really self-taught, if you want to say that. I kind of got thrown into it. And I think back in the day when I graduated from high school, though, it was like, 1982, university wasn't a thing as big as, what it is sort of in this day and age, So I didn't see the value in going unless I was going to be a doctor or lawyer. And I went, okay, so let's just go street smarts is where it's at. So that's what I've done. But I've always lived a very healthy life. So to talk about my health background, my parents, very healthy people. We never had white flour, white sugar in the house. It was just, everything was optimally, nutritious. But I never didn't have gluten problems. I never had allergy problems. But I ended up evolving, I guess when I met my now husband, he was in the restaurant business, and I guess it was 2008 when I sort of decided, that I wanted to get into it with him. And I jumped in the kitchen, jumped in with my recipes, and jumped in with everything that I had, learned from that day forward, and got my first taste with it. Then as a family, so my husband, my daughter, and her then boyfriend at the time, the four of us went down to Farm Sanctuary down in Watkins Glen, and our lives were forever transformed, seeing how the animals had been rescued. It's a beautiful sanctuary, and Gene Bauer is the owner of that, and our lives were forever touched. And we decided at that moment, when we left the Farm Sanctuary, driving back to Toronto, we decided to go vegan, and that was it. It was like there was no gray area there. And then also too, I read the Farm Sanctuary book that they had advocated. It's called The China Study, written by T. Colin Campbell. And then I studied with Cornell University. I actually did plant-based nutrition, one of their courses there, and got into plant-based world like big time. And then I started reading about, finding out about the truths of, what dairy really does to us, and, what butter really does to us, and what eggs really do to us. And I actually felt like I had been so fooled. So that had fueled me to, go down that rabbit hole even more.
Absolutely. So I'm wondering, did you combine your knowledge of being in the restaurant business since 2008, and then the advent into, a vegan lifestyle that sounds like it was developed out of a humanitarian mission, first and foremost with animals, and then grew. How did you make the decision to take all of your vegan information and then open Kelly's Bake Shop in 2012? Was it a natural progression, or was it a very concise choice?
Well, I'm going to say that there's probably a little bit of both. We sold the restaurant. Ken sold his restaurant. My husband did in 2009. We were then free and able to do what we wanted. We actually moved from Toronto out to the Burlington area, and that's where my daughter went to university. And so I thought, geez, you know what? Like, I've got all this time on my hands. There's passion going through us right now. We're newly vegan. We want to shout it out to the world. And this beautiful little location came available. And it was just so serendipitous. And I just said, you know what, man, like, we found it. We found our place to go and open up this beautiful restaurant. It was just all the ducks were falling in a row very, very precisely, from selling his restaurant to becoming vegan to a new location opening up. And I had all the time in my hand to, create new recipes. And I was just being so fortified with such a positive energy of this new lifestyle. I really, truly want to share it with the world. And I want to share the truths with the world. And these were the things that I was experiencing from reading the China Study, T. Colin Campbell, Caldwell Esselstyn, all these people that were coming to me now. And it was just information that I couldn't deny any longer. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic.
It's bakeries on their own. I have a history with them as a young college student, but they're a very different industry. It's not like a lot of other, cafes or other industries, because the baked goods and things like that, they have a different kind of schedule, a different clientele, usually, more morning clientele rather than the evenings. I'm not sure how you're running yours, but it's a slightly different tone in the food industry. And I'm wondering, was it difficult for you because you came from a previous food industry, but not necessarily a baking, did you have any advisors or any help, or did you just kind of jump full in and get your feet wet by baptism by fire?
So from the restaurant, our initial restaurant, then in 2010 that we opened, and when the location came available, and I said, that's it. It was the word kind food came to me. So it was very special, and we opened that. And it was a cafe, it was a grocery store, we sold produce, we did baked goods, we did a little bit of everything, juice bar, smoothie bar. And to all the naysayers that were in downtown Burlington, everyone said, like, good luck with that. And this was 2010. So very much, the pioneers of Canada, that veganism and plant-based, green smoothies and stuff were just really emerging in a way, but there was, 95, 98% of the population was still, had not been, touched it yet. But what I noticed was the baked goods that I was creating, and I first of all started out with spelt flours. I actually had not even done gluten-free. I did it as like an optional sort of thing. And I saw all these people coming in and wanting, can I have 12 cupcakes of this? I need a cake for this. I need a couple dozen cookies for this. And before I knew it, I saw that there was this massive demand. I mean, as much so it was like a small scale compared to the world, but for us in our little business, there was a massive demand for the baked goods, as well as, the cafe part of it. And at days, baked goods were selling higher, cafe higher, but predominantly there was this incredible joy attached to baked goods.
Yeah.
And that's what I was honing on. I was honing in on the smiles and the energy and the emotion that was coming from what I was creating as far as the sweet stuff goes. So that was my drawing force. And so it was 2 years later, and actually about a year and a half later, 2 years later when we actually found the location, but a year and a half into it, I just said, look at guys, like we can't be doing this any longer, because we were using every horizontal spot in the restaurant part to make baked goods in the morning, getting in there at 3 or 4 in the morning. And then I was donning another apron for doing the garlic and the onions and the savory stuff, at 8 or 9 in the morning. I was burning out. And also too, I wasn't filling my soul with, the savory part. And these recipes that I'd been creating were actually coming to me while I was sleeping at night. This is a whole other topic, but I was actually trying to perfect the perfect brownie. Okay. And I kept on screwing up, and I was asking for some divine guidance in it. And I got a download one night of what I was missing. And from that day forward, when I went into the business and I actually made it and I nailed it, tears came, of course. I was very excited with what had happened. And we won all these awards, the Toronto Vegan Bake Off. We did, year over year, we won Best Dessert in Toronto. We like, that was like a magical moment to me. And to me, that was like a gift from God, or, universe, whatever you believe in. But it was a necessary thing, because it brought so much joy to people. Yeah. And that's what I see now.
Absolutely. I'm wondering, so this fortuitous brownie moment, was it, so from after that moment, things just started to come naturally. It sounds like it helped you reshape what you were working on. When you started off the endeavor, a lot of times when people become vegan, they educate themselves, and there's a pilgrimage, if you will, into kind of their zone of veganism and where they feel most at peace. And I find frequently most guests have this lifelong learning, but it's always, coming to different places along that pilgrimage. And I'm wondering with you, you have the spelt flour and things like this, already this natural division from gluten, and a lot of areas that, the first pit stop or pitfall, however you look at it, with a lot of early vegans, is this like carbohydrate or gluten overload, where it's like pasta heaven, or they just don't, the first stop is kind of confusing. And it sounds like you guys didn't really stop there. And I'm wondering if you can speak to, it's not, you didn't have it as a child growing up, you said that, but spelt flour is a little bit trickier. I've myself, cooked with it and things of that nature, but I want to know how you came onto that. And was it a natural thing just to not have gluten in the bakery to begin with? I know that you had Kind Food and then the Lettuce Love Cafe, but so is it by the time you got to Kelly's bake shop that you were no longer using gluten flour, or how did that kind of happen?
So I'll give you the timeline. So we opened Kind Food in May of 2010. And with about 6 months' time, I had decided that we couldn't do gluten any longer, because I saw the demand for it. And then I realized too that I couldn't do both, because then I wasn't honoring the people that were coming in that actually really had celiac disease and true gluten intolerances, that I didn't want to run the risk of harming them. So that was a clear thing that we just switched off. And And it was actually really good because, we changed the cafe part too. The breads we brought in, all the breads were incredible quinoa-based breads that were, gluten-free, vegan and stuff. So that was so easy. Then the location came available, which was a beautiful big location. It was around 2,600 square feet for the bake shop. And I remember being terrified, thinking, how are we going to ever fill up the space? And because it was so big compared to what our restaurant was. Our restaurant that we like, the sales that we had out of that place at 1,000 square feet were like, would just blow anybody's mind. There was a perpetual lineup down the road every single day. And it was amazing to maximize that square footage. But when we did the bake shop, then I thought, oh my God, are we going to cannibalize each other? What's it going to be like? One business is going to rob the other business and stuff. And both businesses completely exploded. Again, both businesses, the lineup stayed. Kelly's Bake Shop on opening day, and that was December 2012, lineup down the street. And I should segue a bit too with what happened to Kind Food. We were served about 1 year into the business, we were served a cease and desist letter by Kind Bars. And Kind Bars came after us, and we had to do a rebrand. And we actually put up a resistance to it for about a year and a half, and they just completely outmoneyed us because, how does someone, trademark the word kind, right? And I thought it was a universal thing for all of us to be a part of. But anyways, we were honored because they were obviously threatened by us. And secondly, it was turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to us. Nice. And I could just tell you very quickly how this went down, that we hired actually 3 different branding companies to come up with a new name for us, because that was the stickler, was how do you get rid of the word kind food that you love so much? And being as a new entrepreneur, it's your baby, and you have to say goodbye to it. And, there's a lot of emotion attached to it, right? And one of the first rules is don't get emotional in business. But anyway, so what I did was I locked myself into the second floor of the bake shop. And we were in business at the bake shop for about 6 months. This is now 2013 when we finally gave up the name. And I decided I had to forgive them. I had to forgive Kind Bars. I had to forgive them. So I was sitting there and I was just, let us love everybody. Let us love, let us love. And I was just praying to like loving and forgiving. And then I went, oh my God, let us love cafe. The play on words, the head of lettuce, let us love, and it was just perfect. Anyways, when we did the rebrand, our sales went up. Our sales went up something like 78%. Like, it was just overnight. It was like we were holding ourselves back to what the universe was trying to give to us. And I so believe in this serendipitous, this way that we are being talked to. And sometimes we don't want to trust our intuition and we block ourselves off. And I've learned how to listen to these words and these messages that are coming through us now all the time. Yeah. And it has served me so well, incredibly. Wow.
I love that. And I love this story. So now draw it out for me. Is Let Us Love Cafe now sold? Is it part of
yes.
Kelly's Bake Shop? So what happened with the sale of that? And then you opened Kelly's Bake Shop in 2012. Was that before or after you sold Let Us?
Okay. So yeah, I'm kind of confusing everybody, I guess, but Kelly's Bake Shop opened in December 2012. And Kind Food was still in existence then. We did the rebrand for Kind Food, turning into Let Us Love Cafe in the fall of 2013. And we sold Let Us Love in June 2017. So we kept it still for 4 more years after we did the rebrand.
Remarkable.
So it's still in existence. It's amazing. It's still a busy place.
What was the impetus for this sale? Is it an expansion of Kelly's Bake Shop? Are you doing other things with your future?
Yeah, so this is exactly it, is we realized that our focus was becoming too diluted between 2 brands, and I solely really wanted to honor where I know where my heart has been and wants to be, is with Kelly's Bake Shop. And so right now we're actually speaking to 2 different parties about doing a very big expansion of the bake shop, and it would be coming into potentially the US as well, and it would be like multiple locations. So we're excited about doing this. So I think, the pandemic has not been an opportune time for many small businesses and even us too, were on hold. I had to lay off, or myself and my daughter, we had to lay off 32 staff. And people don't believe that we have that kind of staffing, and it's quite large. And we have approximately 12,000 customers a week that come through the doors. So we did close the doors on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. And so it's been a little over a month, and it's been one of the hardest months of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny when you identify so much with your business, right? And all of a sudden, identify as like your identity, you're very much, ingrained in your business. When you have to surrender to a greater power over yourself and allow the doors to close, it was a very, very, I sobbed for quite a few days, and just in grief of, you're grieving the loss of your child in a way. But just know, like, I've come through on the other side now, and there's this full acceptance. And I actually feel like I've needed this month to reorganize where I'm heading now, so we're very grateful, as much as we've lost a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
We're very grateful for where we are right now.
Well, I think it's interesting too. There's been a lot of, I've not spoken to a small business owner in the past 8 weeks that hasn't taken this opportunity to re-question and pivot if necessary. And that's, it's awesome. It's awesome to take a rough situation that no one asked for and deduce some really proactive things out of it. I'm wondering, I see now, even with more of the corporate environment doing this, but small businesses from the get-go used to do this. And I'm wondering if you're implementing it as well, which is this social conversation, because small businesses are such an intimate experience with their customers and clients of all sorts. And I'm wondering if you have thought about implementing in any kind of a marketing aspect or otherwise the conversation, about the pandemic, about the future, about any of those aspects, uncertainty, health. I mean, your shop is promoting, what is provably a healthier lifestyle, while still enjoying that, wonderful engagement of sweets and different things like that. And I'm wondering if you guys have thought about, in your looking at what you're doing with your shop, if you engage with your customers or clients even right now on social media, do you address the pandemic, COVID-19 by name? How have you chosen to look at all those areas?
Well, yeah, we're a very transparent business, and we're very open. I tend to be maybe sometimes too open, and I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I also wear my truth on my sleeve too. And very openly, like on my social media channel, Erinn's got her own too, and then we've also got the bake shop. So we look after the three of them. We also have a podcast too. It's called Cupcakes and Consciousness. So there's these 4 channels that we're looking after all the time. And I'm very much an advocate of positivity, and I have a pretty good fan base that they look to me almost every day, actually, for true guidance of how to navigate through this COVID-19 to come out on the other side of growth. Take this time right now for introspection and evolve. And then what I say more often than not gets shared on the Kelly's Bake Shop channel, which is at Kelly's Bake, if anybody's looking. So we intertwine our personal life with the business, and we just share always positivity on Kelly's Bake Shop. We haven't, my daughter's the expert now too on social media, because we put all of our teams on hold right now. So she's been doing the social media for it. And we have, every single day, we have still a whole series of maybe 5 to 10 stories, Instagram stories. We've been posting every day. Erinn and I go live as well. We go live on Facebook and we go live on Instagram once or twice a week. So those are always out there. We're always bringing our customers and our customers. I want to call them our friends, like our family, up with us. So, because I'm just a firm believer that we individually can't rise up. We have to be looking to our brothers and sisters, our family. Everyone has to come together. And this is our transformation right now that's happening on the planet. And I think that this is where business has to be. because when we come out of this on the other side, whatever it's going to look like, we don't know if we're going to have an economic collapse. We don't know if we're going to go into a depression. We don't know if we're going to hit the ground running and go, wow, like, you know what, it wasn't that long. And we got, all the, the government injections that were necessary to keep our businesses fortified, to take us out on the other side. There's a lot of fear. And for myself, I'm just trying to and just instill in people that we either live in fear or we live in love.
Yep.
And to live in fear, we're not making great decisions for ourselves. And so how do we move through our life right now with such love and gratitude, such reverence for being able to be on the planet right now in this great awakening that we're going through? Because that's what I'm calling it. To me, it is a great awakening of what we're experiencing. And it's like everything's happening at once. The economy, a pandemic, the planet is changing too. The sun is changing. All these frequencies are changing for us. And what an honor it is to be a part of this incredible show.
Yeah, and to reflect that we've had a remarkable history as a species and as a continent, as you and I share the same continent, of survival through tough times. And it's good to remember that that's where that kind of grit comes from. I think that it's interesting as a vegan business owner, because as you've so eloquently kind of covered, there's these small business owner and community member responsibilities and all of these emotions happening. But then further, as a vegan, I've spoken with a lot of people. I call them unlikely vegans, because these are the people that kind of chose a vegan lifestyle that you wouldn't have normally thought. It was not a normal trajectory for them. These outliers that are now becoming vegans for variety of reasons, health, things of that nature, age, disease, and they're seeking out the vegan lifestyle. But a lot of these people have said that the pandemic is a very interesting concept for them, aside from tragedy and life loss, because they feel as though it's kind of recalibrating how people are looking at health. And not just the wet markets. And I don't want to get into the controversy of where everyone thinks the coronavirus started and all of that. Like, I'll leave that aside. But just re-examining health and what we take for granted and how we look at it, and healthcare systems, and even getting all the way back down to, food, which is a medicine. It's our original fuel, and it's the most powerful medicine, and it's the most powerful cure. And people believe that it's kind of naturally filtering that concept through people that might not have thought about it until sickness or something like that came upon them. And I'm wondering if you've kind of had any thought with that, about how it might burgeon, the industry out there with you. Have you looked towards a new horizon where more people are educated, or likewise, or consequently thought about educating people more who could be more curious about veganism?
Certainly. So I couldn't agree more. I think that there's this awakening of how we are nurturing the vehicle that gets us around. So the humanness, our humanness, this human body that's housing our spirit, right? And how are we going to live? Either we're going to live in pain and suffering, or we're going to live in tremendous joy with an optimal life. And maybe, we're going to get this gift that we get to live to 110, and we still get to play soccer till that age, Yeah. So for myself, like this week in particular, actually, I put up a really cool smoothie recipe on kellychilds.com. So that's my another website of mine, and it's a heavy metal detox smoothie, and it was inspired to me from Medical Medium. I don't know if you've heard of Anthony William or not, but he's a great guy. And I've been battling myself now with a chronic virus in my body for about 2 years. So it's something that's like in my sinuses. I feel fatigued, and I came down with it about 2 years ago. And then it was just so weird to me, because I would feel good for a week, and then I'd feel like crap again, like a week later, and I would just constantly go in these cycles. And I went to a doctor a couple times, and they said, oh yeah, you've got an allergy, take this puffer or steroids or something. And I just don't do pharmaceuticals. I just don't. I go to a naturopath, and everyone has sort of been stumped with this, thinking maybe it's Epstein-Barr or something like that. Anyways, I discovered Anthony William, Medical Medium, in October, and he's plant-based. So I've been doing celery juice, and then the heavy metal detox smoothie with wild blueberries and all this beautiful stuff. And once I posted it, it kind of went viral. So people are, and this is just to add what you're asking about, and people, getting more introspective, they've got this time on their hands and they're home now, and they realize that they can't live on potato chips and say Kraft dinner and, McCain's deep chest freezer cakes or something, like whatever it is, and they're wanting to take their life and their health to another level. And I believe that our mind, body, and soul are connected. And so, like we we're saying too, is that there's multiple reasons why we go vegan. And it could be for, ethical reasons. Of course, we don't want the animals to suffer, but a lot of people are blind to that. Some people just want it for their health, and they've been told maybe by their doctors or health reasons that, they've got coronary heart disease, or, there's diabetes in their family, or they're cancer or something, and someone's told them that vegan's going to be better for them. And also for myself, I understand that we ingest the suffering of the animals. So when an animal is killed, and it would not be to their choice, and if an animal is raised with suffering as well too, in very disgusting, horrible, filthy, incomprehensible situations, they are sentient beings. Pigs have the intelligence of a 6-year-old. We can go on and on with this kind of debate right now, and it's like they are real human. Oh, sorry, I should rephrase that. Rumor has it that there are, humans are incarnate sometimes through animals. So I don't want to jump to that. We don't have to talk about that. But sure. With animals, yeah. they are soulful, and who are we to impose the pain on them? Who are we as these dominant species? Like, humans can be awful people. We're awful. Our species is awful. We're the only species that kills for the joy of it. And we're killing to, eat them. We let them live in barbaric situations. And it's just that energy we ingest, and so there's this cleansing that's happening right now. There's this, if we are wanting to ascend and to become all that we need to be on planet Earth, as incredibly beautiful human sentient beings, like, we can't keep killing the animals for us to eat. We can't keep on doing this. Mm-hmm. And I am not a vegan activist. I want to clear that up. I am not. And I've actually had, and Erinn and I both have, my daughter and I have both had vegan activism pointed at us because we have not decided to partake in that solidarity within vegan activism movements, because we've just been lovers. We have not been haters. We have not been judgers. And that's just how we've rolled and how we've grown our business, I believe, to such a success. And I don't mean a success that has to be monetary. I mean a success that we have so mmany people that come through our doors and they realize after the fact that we're vegan. They realize after the fact that there was no eggs and there was no dairies in the cupcakes or their brownies or the cookies and stuff, and the food that they eat. And that was always my thing, was sharing the love first and the all-inclusiveness first, and let them get wowed with the love. And then, oh, but by the way, it's vegan. And that has what has worked for us tenfold, but it's bothered an awful lot of vegan activists. And many times they've reached out to us too to do in protest, and they've wanted to do protests in front of our business. And there's a couple times that I've had to actually ask them to leave our property because it was horrifying the people that were in our business. And it was just not how we roll. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, if you're not upsetting somebody, I'm not sure you're doing it right. As they say, someone's going to be a little unhappy. And I think everyone deserves their own path, and vegans should get that ahead of everybody else. But again, I think you're always going to get someone with a differing opinion. And I'm lucky enough and proud enough to be in a country that, encourages diverse opinions. So I think that, like, vegans judging other vegans, every religious, political group in the world does it too. So I do think it's a little ironic when you have something that's developed out of compassion and humanitarianism to kind of turn inwards and fight is a bit rough. But I do see that happening a lot of times, especially when I talk to people about their vegan journey. I want to end with talking about your cookbook. It's called Made with Love. It's 50 recipes of sweet and 50 of savory. It's written in collaboration with your daughter, Erinn, and it came out in 2016. It's a best-selling cookbook. And I kind of want to get into, how did you decide on your babies, the 50 and 50 that you were going to put in there? And given that this smoothie recipe that you've just posted has kind of taken over the world, which ones do you get a lot of feedback from your cookbook, like the very favorite recipes that you've put in there?
How did we decide? It was kind of we wanted to pick our bestsellers that were from our beautiful kind food days. That was like kind of just throwing it out there to and supporting the love and the baby that we birthed from the beginning. So we chose basically all the recipes from there. I don't know if we excluded anything, from like the Buddha bowl to our Caesar salad dressing. Like people just love it. It's made with cashews and stuff. So we infused the savory and the sweet through it. And the red velvet cupcake, I'm going to say, is one of the more popular ones. And our tempeh Reuben is in there. And you know what this book is about? How do I say this? It's a very easy book. So to me, it's not like a complicated book where you're going to need multiple levels of ingredients from it. Everything is homemade, though. There's everything is from scratch. But it's a book that I think why it turned out to be such a great selling book is that it's relatable, and we talk about our story in there too. And it's just a total feel-good book. I think that people love it too, with even Mother's Day coming up. It's one of those books that daughters like to give their moms and moms like to give their daughters, because it's written by a mom and daughter. So there's a beautiful feel about that too. And yeah, I don't know. I'm going to say that, yes, you're right, that smoothie that's gone viral right now too, like we've got to incorporate that too in our next book that we're doing. And that book is going to come out in spring 2021. And we're really excited about it, because it's kind of going to be every favorite that you wanted from the Made with Love book from 2016. It's now going to be included in this next book. So
Yeah.
because we did have to hold back a couple, because we went, well, then we're going to go out of business. Everyone's just going to go copy our recipes. But anyways, it's been so well received. And because people are on lockdown right now,
Mm-hmm.
it is circulating. And I was joking with so many of the fans and people that have been sharing their recipes online. They're taking pictures of everything that they're cooking. I said, wouldn't that be amazing if it came back again as another bestseller, right? It did a revival 4 years later. So you never know.
Absolutely. From your lips to the universe's ears. Fantastic. Well, I wanted to ask you, wrapping everything up, for anybody who is listening to your story, any part of it, from being a small business owner to being a vegan, to being, a woman, a female identified, and anyone like that right now during this time period. What are the top 3 pieces of advice or mantras that you give yourself on a regular basis to kind of keep everything cool? Everything encouraged and motivated?
I do a daily, twice a day actually, practice of meditation. I think that it's very important to tune into the space and just tune into another frequency and get our head out of our head, if you want to call it that. We have to get our thoughts out of our head and into the space that can create all this goodness for us. And I think that right now, I think it's okay. You got to give yourself permission to be okay. I think there's many of us that feel guilty right now about maybe trying to be happy and trying to be positive, and almost feeling guilty because we really shouldn't, because the world's in a pandemic and people are getting sick from this and that sort of thing. And I think that for myself, we need to rethink that. And because I think that our vibration is what's going to bring our planet downward if we stay in that fear mode. And I think we just have to just be so kind to ourselves and just say, it's okay for me to feel okay. Give yourself permission to feel okay right now. And that would be some words right now of wisdom for myself from this global situation that we're in.
Perfect. I love it. Meditation, daily meditation, and self-permission to be okay. Those are awesome. I completely agree. And I try to remind myself daily that, from the moment I saw Yo-Yo Ma starting his movement of online music and collaboration of sharing, to the Italian opera singer in the apartment building complex, there's there's a lot of beauty and humanity that we were not given voice to because there were a lot of other things going on, and being able to harness back in on those and redefine who we are as, you know, as a species throughout some of those beautiful lenses. It's an opportunity, and I completely agree with you. To be giving yourself permission to find that beauty and revel in it and be okay with it is just as important as having compassion for the pain and suffering happening right now. I want to say
I
thank
believe
you so much, Kelly. I really appreciate you coming on today. I love your pearls of wisdom, your candor, and I know for everyone listening, I'm going to have Kelly back on our other podcast, which is Patricia Kathleen Speaks with Female Entrepreneurs and Industry Experts, so that we can get some of her backstory on a much more business-focused angle. But today, I really appreciate all of your vegan advice and your story, Kelly, and I hope that the future is swift and that your shop opens back up, and I will pop in and grab a cupcake.
I'd love that. I would love that. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And for everyone listening, thank you for giving us your time today. And until we speak again next time, eat well, eat clean, and be safe. Sláinte.